Hey everybody, welcome back to our second episode, Building in Public, where we're going to use AI to help Pavilion with its enrollment management and in the process, hopefully teach you a little bit about how you can use AI in your own inbound SDR process. And I'm here with Josh Carter, Head of Demand at Pavilion.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. This is going to be really, really fun. So, last episode, click the link in the description to check that out. We talked about why we are doing this. And essentially, you go through Pavilion's website, you click join now. When you get all the way to the end, it asks you to put in your credit card information to join Pavilion. We get about a 13 to 15% conversion rate on cart abandonment. So, people that go through that flow and then leave. About 13 to 15% come back and sign up to join Pavilion, and that's run primarily by our enrollment managers or inbound SDRs, depending on what you want to call them. We call them enrollment managers. So what we're working on today, and then with this project with Brian from Drivepipeline AI, is how can we at scale personalize the outreach, best connect potential members with existing members so we can create this awesome, authentic community interaction with prospective members to get them across the finish line. So we're going to be building stuff live today. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, me too. One of the things that I really appreciate about this as a MVP, if you will, is that connecting people to each other is, a skill of a top performer in every game that I've seen and every role that you can have. And so I think this is going to be generally really informative for people, showing how easy it is to just make those network introductions feel substantial, feel interesting, and feel useful. And we know from what you've seen with your conversion rates that when people do connect with an actual member, or in this case, today's experiment is going to be making introductions to chapter heads, that they are much more likely not only to become members, but actually get the value out of being a member and renew in the future. So I'm really excited we're going to be doing this. For everyone's benefit, I am going to be putting Josh on the firing line today. So
Let's
in
go.
the build in public spirit, we're going to actually have Josh build this from the ground up. He and I have not rehearsed this at all. And so we're going to go through how we use this tool called Copy.ai. Thank you guys for sponsoring us for this and giving us a chance to show people how easy it can really be to take what you might be doing in ChatGPT and turn it into something that you can use not only in your day-to-day workflow, but actually fully automated across all your data, which is what we'll be doing after this. So Josh, are you ready to kick us off with diving into Copy AI?
Let's do it. Let's do it. And while I'm pulling up my screen, we get about I think it's like 4x conversion rate uplift when we introduce a prospective member with their local chapter head. We have chapters in every major city across the world. So the better job that we can do to facilitate those introductions, the better off we're going to be. So let's jump right in. So the goal is we want to connect the chapter head for DC, Elizabeth Irvine, and we want to connect her with the prospective member, Matt Miner, who heads up demand gen at Directus and is based here in Richmond. Matt is a buddy of mine, so sorry, Matt, but you are the guinea pig for this Copy.ai workflow that we're going to be building. So our goal here is to connect Elizabeth with Matt, create a personalized email to connect Elizabeth with Matt because Matt's based in Richmond, which is just south of DC. So let's jump into Copy.ai, and we're going to build a workflow. Is that correct, or are we going to start in chat?
Let's do it. Let's go straight for the workflow. So just to reintroduce this tool for those of you that haven't heard of it before, Copy AI does have a really great chat interface, just like ChatGPT, but what makes it a superpower is it's AI building AI. If you don't really know how to do prompt engineering, which is the basic communication protocol that you would use to tell AI what you want it to do and shape the responses that you get, Copy AI is a tool that can do it for you and, most importantly, teach you what it is doing. So, Josh, let's give it a shot.
All
Why don't
right.
you give it a prompt for the workflow that you think you want here?
Cool. I have two LinkedIn profile URLs. Based on those two URLs, based on those two URLs, show me or create a personalized email introducing the first LinkedIn URL with the second. And yeah, I have two LinkedIn profile URLs. Based on those two URLs, create a personalized email introducing the first LinkedIn URL with the second. I'm going to open up with their job. Your
Yeah.
job is to connect two people to two people. One person is not a member of Pavilion. The other is. I have two LinkedIn profile URLs, one for the non-member and one for the member. Based on the two URLs, create a personalized email introducing the first LinkedIn URL with the second.
Yeah, and I would say in this case, both of those will work. This is a really good example. So, one of the things people often ask me is when communicating with AI, what should I say? And one of the things I like about using Copy AI is you can learn this for yourself by just trying and building workflows. You can build as many workflows as you want for free. The thing that I've learned that matters the most is talk to it just like you would to a human. So if you were going to give this job to somebody else, how would you do it? How would you explain it? And Copy AI will build it. The other thing that's kind of interesting about Copy AI that I've been learning in my own tests is that you can actually be pretty brief with copy, whereas when you're building, directly communicating with OpenAI or Claude, the other large language learning models, large language models, LLMs that you might use. Sometimes you have to write a lot to really get what you're looking for, but Copy's done a really good job of taking your intent in these lighter sort of prompts and spelling them all out. And so here you can see, basically, we have Copy AI has done the work for us of doing what's called prompt chaining, putting a series of prompts together that will help us get the results. So why don't we go ahead and just, if you mouse over that first one there, input, you can see the little pencil on the side there. Yeah, let's go through each one.
So this is what I love that, and I'm really glad that it ended up doing this, because in Zapier, for example, when you add a step in Zapier, you can set an option to name the step. So when you go back, you can see what it's doing instead of saying instead of just saying scrape LinkedIn or scrape LinkedIn here. Because we delineated, or not delineated, but because the way we prompted it by saying your job is to take a non-member URL with a member URL, it actually named the steps, which means like editing in the future is just going to be so much easier. So that just I don't know, that really got me fired up. So LinkedIn URL for non-member, LinkedIn URL for member. Should I just, for the sake of this, just put in the LinkedIn URLs in here?
No, in this case, this is the actual input field. So we're going to go through the prompts, but maybe it might be easier to actually show people what it looks like in real life first, and then go through the actual details of the prompt. So that we'll just click test workflow.
Oh boy. So we're literally just doing
We'll just
this
jump in and we'll see how this does for us. So,
all right, cool. And I just love how, I don't know, I'm just going to go back to this. In the UI, they literally changed the input names. So that way it's like super easy for me to test. So I can just be like, oh, number one is non-member, number two is member. It's so nice.
yeah, AI plus no code is pretty awesome. It really is.
All right.
Okay,
So
great.
non-member, member. Cool.
Cool. And another thing I really appreciate about Copy is that you can do these test workflows as many times as you want, and it doesn't charge you for any credits. For you, those AI early adopters out there, you probably know credit management is challenging. It's easy to run out of credits very quickly, figuring out how to build your workflows, and Copy takes care of that for us here. So in general, the first run takes a little time. So we're seeing that this is running now, but we'll set the stage in terms of what we're looking for. When you think about a really good intro that you're writing, Josh, what are the things that you care about? What are the things you look for?
I want to check to see like where they have any overlap. If Matt's in marketing and Elizabeth's in marketing, I want to talk to their shared experiences and how, not only will this introduction give you, Matt, more information about Pavilion, and help you get across the finish line by talking to a member, but it also give you and the member an opportunity to talk shop about your day to day, because at the end of the day, we're the top community for B2B tech professionals, and our goal is to create authentic conversations and help people become better go-to-market practitioners. So
All
we
right, so
got the result.
we've got our scrape. So we can see that the first thing it's doing is it's actually, this is another superpower of copy. It has a LinkedIn and web scraper built into it. So you can say, go look at a LinkedIn profile, give me that information. And here you can see it has scraped Matt's profile. And then it's going to go ahead and do the same thing there for our member Elizabeth. But what you can see between the two of them is it's taking that scraped information and it's actually condensing it down. So it's giving us kind of like a highlight reel between the two of them, which can be really helpful for writing the intro. So let's see what we've got. What do you say, Josh? You want to just read this out loud, see how natural it feels?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, dear Elizabeth, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to Matt Miner, a talented marketing professional with experience in various roles across multiple companies. Matt is currently the demand gen leader director at a company that provides powerful headless CMS. He also has held positions such as director of growth at Tradeswell, senior marketing manager, content strategy at Qualifies, growth and content marketing manager at Hatch, and director of marketing at Cop Technologies. As the VP of Marketing and Customer Success at MarketMuse, leading content intelligence and optimization platform, you likely have valuable insights and expertise that could benefit Matt in his current and future endeavors. Believe the connection between you two could lead to fruitful discussions and potential collaboration opportunities in the marketing and content strategy space. So basically, like an unprompted email is still pretty decent, but I know we're going to want to do some work to fine tune this, right?
Yeah, well, so we could. So why don't we just start with the baseline here?
Yeah.
I think if we were going to look at this, let's just take like, what are two things that you think are really good about this intro, and maybe what are two things that you would fix?
So I think two things that are good about it is it references Matt's experience in a really conversational way. I'd obviously want to pare that down a little bit, but I like that, and I like the fact that on the last paragraph it says, I believe the connection between you two could lead to a fruitful discussions and a potential collaboration opportunities in the marketing and content strategy space. So I really like that. What I don't like about it is obviously the email's not designed in a way that's supposed to, it's not like Pavilion related essentially. It's just like a warm intro related. So it needs some of that context. And I also think it's a little bit robust in terms of, or verbose, I guess you could say, on the copy side.
Yeah, so I think the two things that you called out, and in my own experimentation with building this, I saw these as well. One of the most common issues you're going to have with AI is it's wordy. And part of that is because it's just a, word prediction engine at its core. It's just trying to guess sort of like what the next correct word is, which means it can kind of get in a loop. So you can see here where it's saying he's also held positions such as, and then it lists every other position he's ever been in. So I think that that's one piece is like, how do you tighten it up a little bit? And then the second is that it's making a pretty accurate guess in terms of why these two people would like to connect, but it's missing the context that it is within the purpose of Pavilion as a membership. So we're going to edit those two things. And what we're going to do here is we're really going to mess with this thing now. We're going to really push it and pull it and see how we can get results. One of the things I was really surprised about in my own experimentation is that often less was more. Actually giving less guidance sometimes gave better results. Because when we look at the underlying engines now, my favorite being Claude's new Haiku model, sometimes the models do better with more directed but less comprehensive information. But before we get into that, I think let's just get right to the key, which is the prompt itself, write introduction email there at the end. So yeah, great. So we can see these steps here. We've got person 1 details, non-member, person 2, member. Just looking at this, why don't you just try rewriting the instructions in a way that is a little bit more directed in the way that you'd like?
Okay, cool. All right, so write an email introducing person 1 to person 2. Person 1 is a prospective member of Pavilion, join pavilion.com, the top community for B2B revenue leaders. Person 2 is the local DC chapter head. Person 1 is based near DC. So your job is to connect in an authentic way.
Yeah, I like this. So think of it in this way, that your prompt is as precise a task that you're giving the AI as you can. And then background is where you're going to add some more information. And then, of course, the other piece is that you may want to make this a little bit more generic. So when we look at it, we'll say, all right, we're writing an introduction, person one to person two. Person one is a prospective member of Pavilion. You gave some more insight there, which is great. Person two is the local, why don't we just say chapter head of the Pavilion membership community, just so that that's really clear. And then I think that you can remove those last two sentences there for now. We might want to introduce this third person, right, that's making the introduction. Mm-hmm. But I think for now, we'll keep it direct, see if we can get a little bit more of the tone that we're looking for and the general direction. Okay, so background, this is where I would actually focus on adding more context. So you're an expert email writer who specializes in writing professional introduction emails. I like to add to help people build their network. So the reason I like this is that when I tried it, if I just said you're a professional email writer who makes introductions, it was more like a professional sounding email. But when I added to help people build their network, it started using a ton of language that I'm used to seeing when people are making introductions, with me. And now we have your introduction email follows this structure. This is really where we get to play with things. So we've got that, one or two sentences introducing yourself. Great zoom in. And why you're making the role, why you're making the introduction, something about the first person, something about the second, and then a reason they should connect. So I think overall, this guidance is actually pretty good. What we really just saw was in person one, it went beyond 1 to 2 sentences and it kind of got run on. So what I would do is underneath this or before it, you can do it either way. So why don't we go above it just to keep things simple? What we want to do is we want to give it a sentence on tone. So I would just create a brand new paragraph and say, so you could, be personable, concise, and brief. Might be some ways that you write this. And there's a bunch of like tone hacks that you can use in prompt engineering. But right now we're just going to try this one out just to see how it behaves. Is there anything else that you might want to try now that we've gotten this almost baked?
Yeah, I should I be more clear about the intent is to make sure that like basically find areas of like overlap of like where they can kind of share war stories as well as
I love that idea.
Introduce somebody to Pavilion and like why they're a member.
Yeah, so I think what we're looking for really is for Elizabeth to share with Matt why she's a member.
Yeah.
And what you're really looking to do is give them both the feeling that if they get on a conversation, they're going to have something in common that they can both feel set up to have a conversation where they can both feel mutually that they are experts in the topic and have something to, learn. Yeah, I think this is great. So your goal is one way to do that.
Your goal is to find commonalities and I guess encourage
a discussion about the value of membership. Maybe something like that.
And encourage a discussion about the value of Pavilion membership.
Great. Let's give that a shot.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, so we'll zoom out and then go back into our test.
Yep. So you can do that test workflow. And if you want, you can just retest the step at the end, or you can rerun the whole workflow. Both are totally fine.
I'm almost curious.
What you're seeing it do here is it's actually going back and it's rescraping the profile and it's rescraping the extract information. We didn't change those prompts. We just changed the last one. But let's see what we get at the end here. Yeah, we want to do that zoom in again just on that introduction item.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think if you do edit, it will give you a little bit of a larger.
It didn't.
No, that's the step itself. Yeah.
All right, cool. No worries. So we'll just get back into here and then I'll read it.
So you'll need to click that test workflow to bring up the result. Yeah,
gotcha.
There we go. That's close enough.
Yeah. Dear Elizabeth, hope this email finds you well. I want to introduce you to Matt Miner, the demand gen lead. Matt is an experienced marketing professional with a strong track record in demand gen and lead nurturing. As VP of Marketing Customer Success at Market Muse, you have a wealth of knowledge and expertise in B2B marketing. You also serve as the local chapter head for Pavilion. Given your shared interests and roles in the B2B space, I believe Matt and you could greatly benefit from connecting and discussing the value of Pavilion membership. Matt is keen to learn more about the community and how it can support his professional growth and networking opportunities. I encourage you to schedule a call or meet up to explore potential synergies and discuss how Pavilion can support Matt's goals. Okay, so I think it's getting there for sure.
Great. Let's do it again. What are some things that, you feel like have improved, and maybe what would you like to continue to improve?
So I don't like how it spoke directly to the person I was introducing Matt to. Like it kind of felt, you also serve as the local chapter head per Pavilion. That felt kind of like, well, duh, I know I am.
Right.
I would rather have that be written to Matt and saying like, hey, Matt, Elizabeth will be your local chapter head if you decide to move forward. I want to connect you two together, essentially, given your shared interests and roles. So I think there just needs to be better, I guess, intent in like the email of like what I want and the goal. So that would be, I think, an area for improvement. I think this is good. Yeah.
So what I'm going to suggest you do now is just leave this workflow up as it is.
Yep.
And open a new tab and create a brand new workflow. Because I think what you've done is you've actually learned better what it is that you're looking for. And now what I would do is, be really descriptive. So start with saying, you're going to help, I am the director of, you could just say, I'm the director of a community called Pavilion. You can give it some of that context. You are going to help me introduce a prospective member to one of my chapter heads. So you're going to give it more of this narrative approach.
Yep. You are going to introduce a prospective member to their local chapter head. Take 2 LinkedIn profile URLs and create a concise. Take 2 LinkedIn profile URLs, one for the member and one for the prospective member, and create an email from me introducing the member or the prospective member to the member.
In this case, I might relabel member to chapter head, because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to say, I'm introducing a prospective member to a chapter head for the purpose of that chapter head talking about what membership could mean, right?
To their local Pavilion chapter head. Yep. Take 2 LinkedIn profile URLs, one for the chapter head and one for the prospective member, and create an email from me introducing the prospective member to the chapter head. In the email, include briefly share backgrounds of the chapter head and prospective member, find commonalities and suggest why they should, and suggest that they should connect to discuss the value of Pavilion and I guess career stories along the way as well. And I guess let's kind of talk through this. In the email, briefly share backgrounds of the chapter head and the prospective member, find commonalities, and suggest they should connect to discuss the value of Pavilion. I'll just say connect on the value of Pavilion and the local chapter.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Let's give that a try. I always like to do the, what you can learn from each other. So almost all of my network introductions, what I've learned, making introductions is always a little bit awkward. Like, you're trying to set 2 people up to have a conversation. You want to give it direction, but you don't want to over constrain it. And generally I found like, hey, you both have a lot of relevant experience here. Might be interesting to see. What you can learn from each other has been a pretty soft and safe, open-ended intro that we can use. So again, we get to my version, we can cover some of that as well. But I'm pretty excited to see how this will play out. So I think, while this is building, there's two things I think you can learn from this, especially for those of you that are out there building your own workflows and your own AI prompts. I think what I've experienced is when you're trying to get an AI to give you the results that you want, you'll often find these artifacts. Maybe it's a sentence it used, like, I hope this email finds you well, or, a certain way that it's presenting the information that you don't like. And it's actually quite difficult to give AI that feedback and have it respond in the way that you're looking for. There's, that AI is powerful because it is kind of fuzzy in terms of the output that it creates. It can create things that really make sense and are interesting, but you can't necessarily direct it specifically. And so that's what we're wrestling with back and forth here. And this is one of the things that I encourage you to do, is to not only, tinker with a workflow or a prompt that you have, but start fresh new prompts, because you'll learn things by starting over. So here we go. We've got our new relabeled chapter head prospective member. That's great. And you're running the test workflow already, because you're now a Copy.ai pro, Josh.
Very much so. So it's interesting. I'm curious how it's neat that I was able to create the workflow as well as the prompts within the workflow, essentially guide that as well. Which is saves so much time versus clicking into each of these nodes. Is that what we call them, nodes?
Yeah, I'll take notes. Notes work for me.
Nodes.
These are, from from my perspective, each of these is a prompt or a task that the, prompt engine is doing, sometimes called a GPT. Okay, so there you go. One of the things I'm noticing right away is that the extract background is much more verbose now. So the if you flip over to the other tab, let's just compare these real quick. For those of you that are maybe a little bit more on the intermediate builder stage, I would say that this is probably the most common thing that I see in intermediate builders change about how they do their work. So when we're gonna show the results in a second, but the main change that I see is often we're giving AI a pretty broad-based, piece of information, a PDF, a large email, a knowledge base. And then there's this middle step, which is AI analyzing and assessing it for the purpose of the thing it's going to create. And then we produce the thing that we're going to create. And that middle step, that middle assessment, can have a huge impact on how much creativity the AI will show in its message generation. So if you want to really constrain that creativity, making that middle assessment very narrow can work. If you want that creativity to be very wide, you can actually remove the analysis entirely and just have it create messaging from the raw material. So let's see what we get here. So if we look at extract member info, step 4 there, and we compare that to extract member background info. So maybe on the right there, if you can just scroll down a little bit, just so that they're right across from each other. So there you can see step 4, extract member info on the right. It really only has 3 items, right? Whereas your item on the left has a lot more. That scrape, by the way, that's just the literal scraping of the LinkedIn profile. So it has everything. So you've got scrape, pull in all the information, and then you've got extract in this case, which is go look at that scrape and give me just specific things from it. And so I think that's one of the things we're going to see right away is making a change. But why don't we scroll to the bottom on the left there and see what we get in terms of our intro, see if it's a little bit more along what your lines of what you're looking for.
Yes. Let's go. All right. I'm going to read this out loud.
There you go. I hope this email finds you well. The classic AI throwaway line.
Yeah. But then we go on to say, I'm reaching out to connect you with Matt Miner, local marketing professional here in Richmond that I think you'd really enjoy meeting. You two have quite a bit in common, being experienced B2B marketers focused on driving growth for SaaS companies. Matt is currently the demand gen lead at Directus, where he oversees lead generation. Okay, so interesting. So it took the background that was much more robust and is now applying it into here. So it says previously he built out robust content marketing engines. So before I think I didn't like before. It was very like listicle. It was like he did
Yes.
this at Qualify, he did this at Hatch. Now we're going right into the actual things that he did at Qualify and Hatch, fueling their
There it is.
pipelines. It sounds like you've had similar experiences building marketing departments from the ground up and implementing proper campaigns and marketing news. In addition to your shared passion, I noticed you're both involved in giving back to the community through volunteering. Matt has directed marketing for Cobb Imprint charity initiative, where while you've lent your copywriting talents to Taproot Foundation. With so many overlapping interests in marketing, SaaS, and Richmond, I thought you two could really hit it off. Perhaps you could meet up and discuss things marketing as well. Swap notes on Matt, since Matt is also a CMO school alum. I'll let you two take it from here, but please feel free to loop me back in as needed. Nice. I think it's pretty verbose, so we need to probably make it a little bit less verbose, and we probably need to fine tune like a couple of the things here, like taking out this email finds you well, and then taking out Matt is also a CMO school alumni. I don't think Matt is a CMO school alumni. So probably need to like rein it in a little bit in terms of like how many overlaps. Probably stick to just professional overlaps potentially, or like making the overlaps a little bit more concise. What do you think?
Well, so this is where I think that it's sort of like verbose without any negative points is the way that I would put it. When I've had intros from people who've done it in a half sentence and people who've done it with 5 paragraphs. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is if the intro is really a fit, then there's not really necessarily any harm done if you're being really verbose, because people are going to just scan it anyway. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now I know what to talk. I know what to talk about in the first couple of minutes of us getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So I think in this case, you've got a kind of like pretty safe, broad lens for making introductions. The other thing that I think is nice here is that it's not just narrowly to the specific role and what they're doing in it. There's a little bit of a fuzzier lens in terms of you're both community oriented, and you both care about your local community where you live. So I think the way that I would look at this is I think this is a pretty solid draft.
Yeah, I think so too.
The question is, could we get it to be a more useful draft? So we're going to talk a lot about automation in our next episode, and that's where things are going to get a lot more important in terms of like really narrowing down to things we'd actually want to use without necessarily improving it. But if you were to use this as a starting draft, you make a few edits and fire it away is probably where you are with it right now. But let's see if we can make some progress. We want to edit this prompt and see what we can get.
Sure.
So I wouldn't change the core prompt here, which is write an email for me introducing the prospective member to the chapter head, use their background to highlight commonalities, and suggest connecting to discuss Pavilion in the local chapter. It seems like it's doing that job. So I think it's more along the background that we want to clean up.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say is that's the code phrase. So the role is email marketing specialist. Did that feel like you were reading a marketing email? Kinda. So,
a little bit, yeah.
So the first thing I would do is give it a role that is more authentic.
I don't want to say sales rep. You are a connector.
So I would use, some examples that I would use here are things like you are a community manager whose job is to help people build their network. You are skilled at introducing people and facilitating.
Warm connections.
So the reason why I like this is community manager is going to have it look to a different graph of language, and it's going to use phrases that are more like that. If you ever say you're a marketing or salesperson, that I hope this finds you well email comes up pretty often, because it's been in so many cold email templates.
Yeah.
So this is one way that you can kind of hack around that.
Do you think I should be a bit more specific? So you are skilled at introducing people and facilitating warm connections in a way that convinces someone to join Pavilion? Is that in a way that, I guess like outcome focused is how.
Yeah. So first off, try it. And second, I'm going to make a prediction, which is you are implying that the AI is doing the job of convincing the person to want to be a member. So it might throw on more than needs to be done, but let's see what it does.
Maybe I just need to be more specific here. You're skilled at introducing people and facilitating warm connections. The connection you make is designed to help the person.
I always like the word inspire. So it's designed to inspire the person to want to join our community.
Yeah, it's designed to inspire the person to join the Pavilion community.
When doing prompts, whipping out your thesaurus is a good idea. The less generic your prompt is, the less generic your output will be.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the connection you make is designed to inspire the person you are introing to the chapter head to join the Pavilion community.
That's great. Let's go ahead and put a couple sentences together on tone before we get to structure.
Should we take the tone we used in the last one?
I felt like it was helpful, but I feel like we could do more in terms of tone.
Yeah, be personable, concise, and brief was the only thing we had over there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and again, this is one of those like less can be more. So sometimes it's just about the word choice, and sometimes it's about providing more guidance. But why don't you, if you were just giving feedback to an intern that wrote that draft email, just literally write it like you would give them in an email.
Yeah. Okay. Feedback. Cool. Something like that.
Yes, that's a really so. Audience, this is an amazing outcome of Build in Public right here. What he just did is he, in a single sentence, brought in way more context to the tone. So sometimes, I think when we're communicating with AI, it can feel very uncertain. How do I guide this thing? Mm-hmm. And what I love about the sentence that you wrote, Josh, is that you did two things right off the bat that are really powerful. Do it like you're connecting two friends. About the best intro tone you could pick in terms of the sentiment that you're looking for and the sort of the thing that you're looking to evoke. And then via a LinkedIn DM gives it a different format than email, which is really great. So I would actually, in your next thing, your introduction emails follow the structure. I would remove email. So we're actually taking email as a structure out. And I generally speaking, even when I am actually writing emails, I do that. I tell it to write me a text message.
So literally just remove all of this?
Not all of that, just the word email.
Your introduction follows this structure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 1 to 2 sentences on each person's background, I almost want to say noting that they're the local chapter. I think it'll figure that out.
It figured it out last time, so I think you're good there.
I don't need to sign off with contact info because it's just a warm
picture. Exactly. Yeah, that's something it often throws in. Okay, great. I think that's enough editing for now. Why don't we save it and run it? Now, I believe that you can just retest this last step here instead of rerunning the whole workflow. So you can just go to the bottom there and retest that step, which will make it go a little bit faster.
I love that it doesn't charge you to do this.
Right?
Honestly, kind of like huge. A hack. That kind of a hack would be just to just keep testing with this different profiles.
And you should. I use it exactly that way. I'll even test a workflow, take that copy, go try it out, see how it does, and then come back to it. Ultimately, Copy.ai is looking to have you do something that adds a ton of value, and you're paying for the credits because it's generating returns.
Yep.
What do you think? What do we got here?
All right.
Connecting marketing powerhouses in the B2B SaaS world. I love that subject line. That's great.
Hi, Elizabeth and Matt. So this is different. Now it's much more informal. I'm writing Connect to brilliant marketing minds to share passion for driving growth and building exceptional brands in the B2B SaaS space. Elizabeth, let me introduce you to Matt Miner, the managing lead. Matt, his marketing career has spanned various roles from content strategy, director of marketing, where he's honed his skills in lead generation, nurture campaigns, and fueling the marketing engine. His experience building marketing initiatives from the ground up at companies like Hatch and Cobb aligns perfectly with your own journey of establishing high-impact marketing departments. Matt, meet Elizabeth Irvine, the VP of Marketing, Customer Market Moves. Elizabeth is a seasoned B2B SaaS revenue leader with a knack for creating powerful brands, customer journeys, and marketing campaigns that drive up. Her expertise is band generation, and nurturing marketing talent that is truly impressive, as evidenced by the remarkable 70% of new business she drove at Market Muse through her marketing strategy. So I like the credibility factor, which is incredibly important for prospective members when they meet a chapter head, is they want to know what the chapter head's up to. So I love that it
Even if
included
the even if the intro ended right after this paragraph, you mission accomplished, right?
right,
Which is
exactly.
great. The other thing I'm really appreciating, Josh, is no one has to listen to this on 2x speed because you already have got that baked into your brain. Um, all right, so continuing through.
Yeah, both of you share a common passion for content marketing, nurturing talent, and building high-performing marketing teams to feel growth. I thought you two would hit it off as discussing your experience and insights in the B2B SaaS marketing realm. Moreover, as a recent CMO school graduate and core group leader at Pavilion, Elizabeth could provide valuable insights into our community and the local chapter's activities. Matt, given your interest in connecting like-minded professionals, I believe joining Pavilion could be an excellent opportunity for you to expand your network and learn from seasoned marketing leaders like Elizabeth. I love how it connected the dots here. Let me know if you'd like me to facilitate an introduction or if you have any other questions. I'm always happy to connect talented individuals within our community. Um,
This feels like a winner. What do you feel? What do you think?
it does, yeah, it does too. And this is the good news is like, yeah, like if I were to make any hot edits, I would probably just like delete a couple sentences but I mean, if this shipped out as is, like I wouldn't be mad. I think I would probably kill this last section here. Let me know if you'd like to facilitate an introduction. We are because I already did.
Yes.
So I might,
Let's go ahead and edit that right now. So what I found is, yeah, you can take that out. Why don't we switch over to my sharing my version of this because I wrestled with this particular issue a bunch.
awesome.
What I found is that, and this could be just true to Copy AI and the way that they do their prompt engineering, but I often found it was adding, a couple sentences that captured the intent of what you were doing, but also saying that it wanted to do that, just like you read right there. So here's a little bit about how I worked through this. All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. But congratulations, Josh. I think you did a phenomenal job, moving through the workflow. And just for everyone's benefit, like that was 20 minutes, right? 20 minutes from just using it in some sort of a raw format and getting to something that you'd actually feel comfortable sending. So I'm excited for where we'll go from here. But I'll go ahead and share my screen. So I just met chapter head Jesse Shipman last week, your Denver
Oh,
chapter
no.
head. We had a phenomenal conversation. She's got a great service where she helps businesses build out their partner motion with fluency. And I'm going to be meeting with Neetha later today. She and I had a bunch of fun talking about revenue intelligence.
Hmm.
So they're my two examples. I'm actually going to be writing an introduction between these two chapter heads to get to know each other. I built two workflows. I built one called Executive Intro Long. So this one is a lot more like yours, Josh. It's more verbose. It's more detailed. And then I also wrote one called Brief. And this one is a lot more like the kind of intros I typically see
Yep.
from my founder friends. So I'm going to start with Brief. Um, uh, Hi Nevedita and Jesse. I thought you two innovative leaders should connect. As the CEO of BigLittle.ai, your passion for eliminating revenue process inefficiencies through technology is inspiring. And Jesse, with your background as a teacher turned partner enablement expert, now leading Fluency to help customers unlock referral revenue, you have such complementary expertise. You're both driving transformation in the revenue space from different angles. I'm sure you'll have an enriching exchange sharing your unique perspectives, wishing you an insightful and rewarding connection. So that last sentence there, that was the one that I was really engineering. But here's one of the things that I found was kind of interesting as I was building this is I removed the evaluation step. So the only thing that this does is it scrapes their profile and it takes the scrape and then it writes the message. So this message is sourcing the entire scraped profile for both professionals when it writes it. And one of the reasons that I like that is the creativity that it led to. So for example, if I just retest this step, and it rewrites it, I could get, and at least the few times that I've done it so far, I could get really different points of connections. So there you go, totally different type of intro, definitely a different kind of close. And this is really what we're looking for. So the main difference between automation communication and AI communication is we want every message to be a snowflake. We want it to be unique.
Yep.
And when we talk about uniqueness, I think this is really important for you marketers out there. it's really important to think about this as personal brand communication versus branded communication. So much of the way that we think about marketing today really is about taking a top level brand style guideline, boilerplate language, and then making that, sort of like funneling that into various activities. And it can lead to things that feel inauthentic, overweighted, and, frankly, people just blank out when they see it. So I encourage, those of you that are thinking about using AI in this format to accept that the artifacts or errors or issues that AI makes are actually pretty similar to the ones that people would make. And if they fall well within the spectrum of like allowable differences and weirdness, maybe you're not an emoji in your message kind of person, but every once in a while it goes out to be a little bit light about that so that you can get the value, which is that things are actually unique. But here's a totally new version. I love that in this intro here, Jesse's being introduced as someone with deep expertise in partner programs from her time at Apple. Great signal of value there. While Jesse Nevidita is driving efficiency in the core revenue engine. So you can see how it's taking the same information, but it's framing it in different ways. And it's setting them up to have a conversation that's still, I think, going to be pretty phenomenal. Basically, what we're saying is the two of you are working on the revenue process from different perspectives. Could be interesting to see what you have to share with each other. So let's go ahead and look at the prompt. So you can see here that my prompts are very thin. This is my less is more kind of model. So use the key details from the executive's LinkedIn profile to write an introduction via text message was the framework that I used. And then the role I gave it is just you are introducing two executives to help them build their network. Follow this structure, warm greeting. If they have something very specific in common, reference it. 1 to 2 sentences on why they should connect. Very short close, wishing them well. So this was my way of hacking the kind of 2-sentence ending there that happened. And then I use a brief, professional, semi-formal tone. This is kind of like a boilerplate prompt engineering tone that you can use. So my point being that you can get more of what you want by giving more and more information in a prompt, but sometimes you can actually get there by doing less and relying on the model more. In this case, I'm using Claude 3 Sonnet. This is another thing I love about Copy is it's multi-model. So I could use, Turbo, I could use Claude. I'm a big fan of Haiku. It lets me adjust the temperature. Temperature basically means just like how much latitude do you want to give the AI to make things up? And I'm going to go ahead and give it like full latitude. I want it to be very creative and I want to see what I get out of it. So I'm going to save this action step and I'm going to retest it. And again, we'll do the same thing. We don't need to rescrape the profile. So I'm just going to retest this last step here and it's going to rewrite that. Wow, that went really fast. Okay, so now we have something that I think feels a little bit more on point. Now, what's missing here, I think, Josh, is the work that you did to provide that context. This is really about Pavilion membership. I was writing this as more of a generic, hey, I'm going to introduce two people and I want them to find the commonalities that will make it feel like something they both want to do. But love this call out in terms of mission and passion. You're on a mission to transform revenue processes and empower businesses to achieve unprecedented growth. Jesse, you're passionate about enabling partners to unlock revenue referral through their everyday conversations. Given your shared interest in empowering businesses and partners, I think you both really enjoy connecting to share insights and explore potential synergies. I hope you have a chance to connect soon. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to facilitate. So another kind of fun way to go. Retesting this step, I'm going to get a very different output. It's going to focus on some different things. And it's even going to do a little bit of a different format. Now, every once in a while, you do get this where you'll get these artifacts, these little, tags, parameters that can go into messages. And so these are some of the things we're going to be looking to control for as we build, a QA process around our AI generation. But again, really, really different kind of like tone and setup and focus in terms of what they're talking about. So generally speaking, I would say for anyone that's mimicking what we're doing here. I'd encourage you to be brief, two finger intros, two-finger paragraphs. Almost all executives that I know, if they are spending time networking, it's on their phone, and this is designed to be a mobile message. But here's the bigger version. And we won't read through this one, but it gives more detail. It's a lot more verbose. What I like about the more verbose version is that it allows a little bit more of the color of the person to come through. So in Jessie's case, her laser focus on building symbiotic relationships, almost a direct quote from her LinkedIn. For Neetha, deep passion for eliminating inefficiencies. Having spoken with Neetha, I know that this is true. So I think that sometimes the benefit of doing the longer form is that the AI is more likely to get to those unique pieces of flavor that really bring out who people are. And here you go, similar thing. Use the extracted details. So in this case, I'm not just using the scraped details. I actually did engineer the extracted information to write an intro explaining why the two executives should connect. I actually like this version better. Write an introduction explaining why two people should connect, I think, is the actual goal. And then you can see here, I've given it a persona. You're an expert writer who specializes in crafting professional introductions via email between executives to help build business relationships. Very similar to what you came up with.
That's awesome. And does that, so in terms of like credit management, the previous workflow that had fewer steps, is that technically going to be cheaper, or is it the credits based upon the whole step?
Really great question for our upcoming automation discussion, because credit management is a big part of it. So here you can see, Copy is really great. It both gives us an estimated credit, and then when you actually run it for real, it tells you how many credits you spent. In this case, this is 13 credits. So, depending on your credit cost can be as low as about 3 cents per credit. So in this case, this is like a 30-cent, 40-cent message generation that's being done at scale. That adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it's also easy to do the math and say, if I was actually going to craft a personalized introduction that was well researched between people, how much would I pay for it versus AI? It's going to be a lot cheaper with AI. I don't think that's the basis. I'm just going to tell everyone, having made a ton of ROI cases for AI, I don't think that ROI case is very compelling. This is how much it would be if we did it with people. This is how much you do with AI. In theory, it is. In reality, it's not. What I think is more important is for you to be able to run an experiment like we're going to do, validate its impact on revenue, and then say, we can increase revenue by X for a credit cost of Y. And then the credit costs look very reasonable, and it's also very direct in terms of what that return is. And you can see here, when I run this test workflow over here, I get an estimated credit of 1, which is exactly why I picked Haiku. Haiku is the cheapest and most performant credit system I have found, and this is absolutely intended to be the dirt cheapest version of it, and I'm pretty happy with the output. So that's another thing that you can kind of see, is that credit management can be, you can get very similar results, but your other credit costs can be much higher. So overall, what I would suggest is, don't be in too quick of a rush to lower credit costs. Pay attention to it, experiment with it, put the results out there, see what you get. But almost always, the short path to really efficient credit usage is to have more feedback as you use the messaging, see what's really working, see what matters, and then you can optimize for those outcomes.
I love it, Brian. Thanks for walking me through this. This is going to be awesome for the next session, where we build some automation around it and enable the team to actually do this at scale. I'm so pumped for that.
Yeah, so let's talk about what's coming next. So this week, I'll be using this model in my own introductions. I'm going to make some introductions for people. I'm going to use it so that I'm getting to see how this is working for me. Personally, I like making introductions in LinkedIn DMs, just like you were suggesting, versus via email. It's easy, gets people in the same conversation. Most people are on LinkedIn when they want to network, so it gets it out of that email flow. So that's where I'm going to be playing with it. And then next week, we're going to be talking about how we would actually hook up your list in HubSpot to this process, generate those outputs, and have them ready for use.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, Brian. And yeah, definitely hit subscribe below and check out all the episodes in the description. Thanks, guys, for watching. This is going to be awesome.
See you next time, guys.